Hi everyone. These are the answers to the Algebra 1 quiz. Please correct your mistakes. Please understand if you had anything wrong. A lot of you, these concepts or review, make sure you know how to do this. And yes, I didn't give you a calculator, but I need to make sure every single student knows how to take a fraction, for example, and convert it to a decimal. And if I ask for a percent, you would know how to take a decimal and convert it to a percent. For example, this is 62.5%. Make sure, again, somewhere in the past you dealt with decimals and being able to convert to fractions. This decimal is 200ths, which reduces to 150. So again, please take the time to watch this. Check your answers. I'm going to show you that a lot of these questions we had on our homework. So again, we went through this pretty quickly so far because this should be a review. So again, look through these answers. If you need to, come and see me if you don't understand why you had something wrong. A lot of little mistakes. Make sure you know what product means. Some people didn't know what product means. Product means multiplication. Quotient. I had a lot of people that thought the quotient of 8.5 was 4. Make sure you realize it really means 8 divided by 1/2. Dividing by a fraction really means multiplying by a reciprocal. We had some order of operation problems. So if you made a little mistake, make sure you should be able to point exactly where you made your mistakes, and hopefully in the future learn from those mistakes. This was number 10, for example. It's very, very common to think of -4 squared as positive 16, but if it is written without parentheses, again, we went over this in class, that if I write it -4 in parentheses squared, then it becomes a positive 16. But because of order of operations, we're only squaring the 4, and think of this as the opposite of 4 squared when it's written this way. And then when we have a problem like 11, when you have to substitute, I had a lot of people get this wrong where they thought the answer was -45. When you substitute in a negative in for x, you need to make sure that negative is in parentheses when you're squaring, because remember, 5x squared really means 5 times x. -3 times -3 is a positive 9. So again, very easy to learn from your mistakes. Again, we don't want to see these same mistakes on our test. Here we have the answers to the second page. Be very careful with substituting. Show this work. Do not try to skip steps. Take the time to substitute. Replace your variables with the values given, and keep your work nice and neat. Be careful of signs. Make sure you realize in this case we are taking this expression times this expression, and again we have to follow order of operations. So after we substitute in, we need to make sure we take care of what's inside the parentheses first, then we multiply. Okay, so make sure you understand where -4 comes from. 13, you should hopefully be able to see, following order of operations, PEMDAS, that we do what's inside the parentheses, then exponents, and you can see where 41 comes from for question number 13. 14, I had a lot of people that thought that 2 to the third power, 2 times 2 times 2, which is really 8, not 6. I had a number of people that wrote down 6. So realize that 2 cubed is 8, then 8 plus 2, that's where the 10 comes from, and finally -7, final answer is 3. Okay? And here again is another example where you have to be very careful when you are squaring. We have y squared. Y is a negative value. This -2 must be in parentheses. -2 times -2 becomes a positive 4. So 16 over 4 is a positive 4, plus the 4 out here. The resulting answer is 8. So if you had 0 there, it's because of a sign. You substituted and kept this as -2 squared without parentheses and thought that we'd have -4 in the denominator. So again, you need to realize your mistakes, and you can prove to me on your test that you learn from your mistakes. And as we go forward, this is going to be something that you must master, that you must be totally proficient on to be able to continue. Number 16, again, we are at the point where, even though I know in the past some of you were able to solve equations, we're in the very beginning laying down the foundation where we are just checking to see if a value is a solution. So we substitute in for our variable and we want to see if we get a true statement. So when we substitute, we do the calculations in number 16, we do get a true statement. Number 17 is an inequality. You substitute in, be careful of your signs. Negative 45 minus 3 is negative 48. And you do get a true statement. And if all you wrote was yes, I took the points off. You had to show why, just like in our homework questions that we dealt with, that you had to justify your answer. And then again, number 18, here in 18, when you substitute, we get a false statement. 3 is not less than or equal to 2, therefore negative 5 is not a solution. Okay, 19 and 20, almost directly from your homework where you just had to translate these. This is going to be a very important skill when we do some word problems, be able to take words and convert them into an algebraic expression. So again, check your work, and when later on when we have our test, you'll be able to hopefully show improvement if you didn't get any of these wrong. Okay, one more page to go over. Okay, finally, here's page 3 of your quiz. When we did notes on this, we used a Venn diagram to show that the number 10 is a whole number. It is a natural number. It is a rational number because 10 can be written as a fraction. Our definition of a rational number is any number that can be expressed as a fraction, a over b, where a and b are integers, and so on. So it is a rational number and, of course, an integer. An integer are all the whole numbers and their opposites. So that was true. For number 22, example of a rational number, you could have mixed number, any fraction, any decimal, infinite number of choices. So here I just give a couple of examples, but you had a whole bunch of different choices to choose from. Make sure you realize in number 23, unfortunately, if you wrote 3.14, I marked it wrong because 3.14 can be expressed as a fraction. It is a rational number. A number, I know what you meant, but you have to realize that pi continues on forever. So if you wanted to show this, you should have, let me grab my pen, realize that you show the dots, that you meant that it was a number that never ends, never repeats. Some other examples are like the square root of 3, square root of 7. Later on, you'll learn about the number e. Number e is an irrational number. So any number that as in a decimal never ends, never repeats itself. Okay? And number 24 I thought was going to be an insult. Should have been. 50%, you need to realize 50% is 1/2. I need every single high school student to understand this concept. If I ask 50% of something, I'm asking for half of it. If I ask for 25% of something, I'm taking a quarter of it. So really all you have to do is take half of 30 and get 15. And finally, I did give you a bonus. We did not spend a lot of time going over the rules of multiplying and dividing fractions, but I know in your past your elementary teachers went over this with you, so I just wanted to quickly review and give you a problem to demonstrate where you can show me how to take two mixed numbers and divide them. So there's the work. When you're dividing, it's easier to convert to improper fractions, and again, the rule for division is to multiply by the reciprocal. And you can cancel out when you're multiplying. You do not need a common denominator, and you just, once you cancel out everything, you just multiply what's in the numerator over the product of the denominator. And in this case, the answer is 3/2. Okay? So again, look over this. Please fix your mistakes. Fix your mistakes. Do not allow yourself to have something wrong and not know why you had it wrong. You will see a lot of these same concepts throughout the year. So we need this foundation so that you can be successful later on in the year. Okay? I do want to show you one other thing real quickly. Throughout this school year, I'm going to really stress checking your homework. We will go over the homework in class. I'll ask, are there any questions? If you don't speak up, you're going to then have to check your answers on your own. So I have everything posted, but ideally I want you to ask questions, learn from your mistakes in your homework. For example, on page 26, if I open up this PDF, I'm going to see some of the same questions that I had on my quiz. So ideally, if you didn't know how to convert 5/8 to a decimal, I wanted you to see and ask. You get to ask about homework questions the next day or a couple days later. Again, a lot of times I won't collect the homework until several days before. For example, I collected this set of homework with your quiz. You had several days to make sure you understood every single one of these questions. So, again, it was a first quiz. Overall, the grades were very good, but I want everyone to have that foundation. So, fix your mistakes and let me know that you corrected your mistakes. So, thank you for watching.